Hello there, my name is Pramod and I'll be a presenter for the presentation today on neural substrate of body sizes, illusionary feelings of shrinking or waist. Before I proceed, I would like to give you some definitions on key terms here: neural substrate and illusion and perception, and what it means by the body image, and so on and so forth. So the structure we'll follow is introduction of terms, which we just talked about, methodology of the study, the results, and the conclusion of the presentation. So to talk about the first topic or first key term, the neural substrate. The neural substrate is the terminology used in neuroscience to indicate the part of the nervous system or the brain system that underlies a specific behavior or psychological state. And so, for example, if you are interested in knowing about the language and the acquisition in language, for example, the underlying processes of the brain that are responsible for acquisition and processing of language will form the neural substrate. Here I will give you an example of the long-term and short-term memory. The memory is divided into long-term and short-term memory. Long-term memory is further divided into explicit conscious memory, implicit unconscious memory, and emotion, which is conscious as well as both unconscious memory. I won't go too much into detail, but underlying processes that involve the storage of information in long-term and short-term will form the neural substrate. Hopefully that gives you an idea of neural substrate. Now I want to talk about the terminology perception and illusion. Perception is a process by which the sensory information is actively organized and interpreted by a brain. For example, if you're looking at certain visual information like lines and colors and edges and so on and so forth, the occipital lobe or the parts in the occipital lobe will be fired, and that will actually help you perceive the information. Illusion is also a type of perception, but it's actually a misrepresentation of the real sensory information stimulus. To give you an example, here is an illusion. If you can see, this person appears to be a taller person, and this person appears to be much shorter in height. In fact, they both are actually the same height, but the way the room is structured gives you an illusion that this person is way taller than the other person. The other two examples I can give you is these two examples here. You may ask which line is bigger or smaller. In fact, both lines are of the same size. It's just that the illusion is created by these arrows at the end, which gives this line B and sort of a perception that is actually bigger than the other line. Here is also an example of a figure. One could see, either you would see that two people are talking to face, or is a flower vase. However you perceive it, this is basically gives you an idea of illusion and perception. Third thing I want to talk about is the body image and perception. So body image commonly refers to the perception of the spatial dimensions of the body, its size, shape, and relative configuration of its part. Now, why this is important is, like the other, information which we receive in the brain, there are no special receptors in the body that provide the information to the brain about the shape and size of the body segment. So in other words, the somatosensory cortex that receives the sensory input from the peripheral receptors don't contain any implicit and explicit information about the relative size of the body part. So the question now is, how does the brain really figure out the size and the shape of the body? So the answer to that question is the perceived relative size of the body parts depend on the integration and the comparison of the somatic signals from different body segments, like, for example, hands and your limbs, legs, and so on and so forth, and of the visual information which is provided by the eyes from the body to the brain. So the contrast of the two causes the illusions, and that also helps you. The brain also puts this information together to sort of put together the size and the shape of the body. So let's talk about the methodology of this study. So the study actually took into consideration 24 people. They blindfolded the people, and they were healthy. And what they did was they attached the vibratory devices on the hands of the people in such a way, in two configurations. So in one configuration, they actually asked them to put their hands apart from the body, and the vibration was triggered, and and the underlying input to the brain was recorded using fMRI. In the other study, they actually asked the participants to stand in such a way that hands were actually touching the waist or the hips, and the vibration was introduced, and that sort of gave them the illusion that the waist or hip was contracting, or in this case they give them illusion that the waist or hip was actually expanding. So how this really happened was, when the palms were in contact with the body, the vibration of the two wrists elicited illusion that the wrists were flexing and the waist was shrinking. When the hands were not in contact with the body, the vibration of the wrist only elicited the illusion that the hands were flexing at this point in time. So the following result here shows you what really went on in the brain. The centers in the parietal lobe were activated, and the fMRI confirmed the trigger of certain neural substrates in the brain that were captured, and that confirmed that the illusion was being created in the brain, and that was recorded using the fMRI. So the illusion was created by conflicting sensory information received by the vibrating wrist and the contact surfaces between hand and the waist. The vibrating wrist sends the information to the brain that something is happening, while the palms which were stable and touching the body send another information that I'm stable. Hence, that sent another contrary information to the brain, and that sort of created the illusion of shrinking or expansion in this case. The further study, in terms of data analysis, this was confirmed. So there was a positive correlation between the neural activity and the strength of illusion. The stronger the illusion, the stronger was the neural activity, and vice versa. So hopefully that gives you an idea about the study. I highly encourage you to go on and look at the results of the study, and if you have any questions, feel free to get back to me. Thank you.